I would like to remind everyone that this meeting will be filmed live or recorded and uploaded to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. Therefore, by participating in this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings. If any public speakers on MS Teams do not wish to have their image captured, they should ensure that their video setting throughout the meeting is turned off and set to audio only. Members and public speakers are reminded to turn on their microphones before speaking and turn them off when they're finished.
Maybe I should go through it again. Welcome to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting this evening, the 30th of September 2025. I'm the Chairman, Councillor Baldwin, and my Vice Chairman is Councillor McCann. I believe he'll be a few minutes late. So. And to my left is Nicholas Sayers, who is the Legal Services Manager and Deputy Monitoring Officer. And further to my left is Nuala Donnelly, who's our Strategic Director of Finance. To my right is Laura Kerman from Democratic Services, and Lou Baker is our doing our webcasting this evening. Okay, so then we move on to item 2, which is any apologies?
There are apologies, Chairman. Apologies have been received from Councillor Stocker, Lee and Lucas.
And item 3, do we have any substitute members?
There are substitute...
Oh, sorry, yes.
A late verbal apology from Will Kaufman.
Okay. Yeah.
Late absentee.
Thank you for that. That's noted. Thank you.
And as you mentioned, Chair, Councillor McCann will be late, but he's got caught up on the way here. Substitutions, we have Councillor Morgan for Councillor Stocker, although he's not arrived yet, so we don't have that substitution, but he may come in later. And we've got Councillor Church for Councillor Lee, and Councillor Pugsley will be coming in online for Councillor Lucas.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And so we go on to item 4, which is declarations of interest. Councillor Bassett.
Thank you, Chairman. I better declare on item 9, I think it's 6.3 and a couple of other places. It does mention Qualis, and as Chairman of Qualis, it's a non-pecuniary.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Any other declarations of interest? Okay, right, can we go on to item 5, which is the minutes? These are on pages 5 to 9. Can we confirm the minutes from the 5th of August 2025? Agreed. Thank you for that. And then we go to item 6, which is matters arising and any outstanding actions. Sorry, members, are there any matters arising or outstanding actions? No? Then to item 7. Any questions or requests from the public?
None have been received, Chairman.
Thank you. Then we're going through this very quickly. Then on to item 8, which is executive call-in. There have been no executive decisions called in since our last meeting on the 5th of August 2025. So now then we go on to the substantive item this evening, which is item 9, which is Budget Monitoring Report 2024-2025, Provisional Outturn. And so, and Nuala, can I go over to you to introduce the report, please? Item 9. Yep.
Thank you, Chair. This evening we are discussing, as the Chair mentioned, the Quarter 1 results for the Council, the period to the end of June 2025. This covers the General Fund, the HRA accounts, both revenue and capital spend. Hopefully you will have had a chance to read the report, but I'd like tonight to highlight a few key issues. For the General Fund, the Council have a target to balance the budget for the year with spend matching income. The forecast position for the financial year is currently a deficit of 0.57 million. This is based on an extrapolation of the year-to-date spend to June, and then adjusted for known financial commitments, efficiencies and funding. Service level spend is forecast to be above budget, by 0.87 million, and the largest adverse variances to plan are currently detailed as an above budget spend on homelessness, and particularly on B&B accommodation, which is contributing a net forecast overspend of 0.66 million. Income from the trading of dry recyclables is less than planned by 0.5 million. There are a number of staffing pressures, and pressures on planning income targets are less than budgeted, and this is an issue that members will be aware of from previous years. Offsetting these areas of overspend are also a number of underspending areas, particularly around ICT spend. There's a technical adjustment on the budget for the minimum revenue position MRP of 0.75 million, and this is a result of slippage to the capital programme and our reduced need for borrowing. The revised pay award has been included in the financial forecast for the financial year. The impact of known changes to funding are also reflected in the forecast. Funding levels are currently forecast to be 0.3 million better than plan, and this is offsetting the service level overspend. To date, no assumption has been made on the use of reserves, but this remains an option available to support the financial position, although this would be a non-recurrent measure. In terms of the next steps, as a result of the financial outlook, a number of reviews and corrective actions have been put in place to address the issues emerging. In particular, the housing team are working to provide alternative accommodation options to reduce B&B spend. The possible mitigations and actions are to be discussed with members in the coming weeks. The importance of addressing these issues is also highlighted in the planning for future years' budgets, as there may be a recurrent financial impact if not addressed. The forecast is subject to change, and we are aware of a number of possible emerging issues that may need to be addressed. For example, the impact of local government reform, the performance of subsidiary companies, changes in grant funding, and potentially any inflationary changes. The finance team continue to work with service managers and budget holders to monitor budgets. A revised forecast based on the first 6 months of the financial year is due to be completed in the coming weeks. The paper also highlights the revenue position for the HRA. As at Q1, a surplus of 0.1 million is forecast for the financial year, which would be 0.6 million better than planned. This is largely a factor of slippage on the capital programme and the impact on financing costs. In relation to capital, the paper highlights a forecast spend of 60.3 million on general fund and a forecast of 32 million on the HRA. The HRA reflects a significant variance in plan resulting from underspends on housing building programmes and acquisitions. And finally, the paper details a number of key performance indicators. No areas of concern are to be highlighted at this time. I'd like to invite any questions on the paper if members have some.
Thank you very much for your reports. So I'll open things up to the committee. If members have any questions. Councillor Bassett, please.
Thank you. A few little points here, starting on page 12, contracts, partnerships, procurement. Obviously, the recyclables, etc., we've got a large variance there. But I do know that from tomorrow, the companies are going to be charged for their packaging. And how will we actually administer that to get that money back to help with the dry recycling figure? We obviously didn't know about it yet.
Thank you. Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not going to give the most accurate of answers, but we did get a grant from government last year. Nuala might know more about the specific name of that grant to cover the cost of the new processing. Essentially, that grant is paid for by the fee from private companies for their packaging. It was quite a big windfall last year. It was one of the reasons we could make some of the savings that we could, but I can't remember the exact name of that grant, so apologies.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
If I may, it's the, I think you're referring to the extended producer responsibility, EPR, and I think we are aware of changes in the last few days, and we'll be looking at the impact of that.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Councillor Bassett. Yeah. If you'd like to come back. Yeah. Yeah. Councillor. Sorry, Councillor. Is it Councillor Rackham? You next. Councillor Wiskin. My apologies.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got several points. I don't know if you want them one at a time in a response or hear them all. I'll go one at a time then. On the service lines on page 12 for Chief Executive and Finance, it's £380,000 over budget. Is this reflective of the reality that with LGR coming down the road, that recruitment and permanent recruitment will be a significant issue going forward, and we're going to consistently see these lines high because we will not have permanent recruits in place? I'll be honest, if I was in local government and the jobs were going out the window, I wouldn't be the first to look to a job in an organisation which is likely to go west.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Who can come back on that? Nuala, would you like to come back on that?
Yeah, the particular instance of the Chief Executive overspend in that particular instance is a budgetary shortfall on the a number of posts within the legal team, and the budgetary provision for the staff and post wasn't correct at the time of setting the budget, so it's a correction of a budget that for people who were already in post, there was an incorrect budget set, which is causing the variance. So it's not directly related to a recruitment issue. It was an incorrect budget allocation for the year.
Thank you. Councillor Whitbread.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think I should just make a comment because obviously the issue around staffing and LGR is an important one. I have to say Epping Forest is in the best position it's been for a long time, with some great staff in all areas now, including the new housing director, a proper legal section now, with a monitoring officer of our own. We've got a good brilliant financial team now that are very, very set in, getting things set up for the future. So I think we're actually very lucky as a council. We've actually attracted some really first-class staff, and we should be happy with that at this present time. But it's important, and I would say this here, how well respected our staff are across the Essex system, and I think that's really says a lot about Epping Forest.
Yep. Thank you for that. And Councillor Murray's been waiting online quite a while now, so can I go to Councillor Murray, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. My apologies for not being there in person, but it allowed me to attend another meeting in Loughton prior to this meeting by coming online. Can I first of all thank the officer for her report? I thought it was very clear, very precise, and I think it's the first time I've come across the officer, so very impressed, so thank you. I've got a precise question, and it was about the B&B overspend, and I know that we've got no control over that, and sadly the need for B&B is increasing, and it's something that we obviously do try and avoid. B&B isn't a good option really for families. It's nearly always out of the local area as well. The question I wanted to ask is about what she said about housing coming back with alternatives. Do we have a time scale for when we're likely to have those reports? I know she might not be aware because that's not really a financial question. My second question is a financial question. Would I be right in thinking that those alternatives would move the cost from general fund, which at the moment bed and breakfast is the general fund cost, those alternatives would then move the cost to housing revenue account cost? If I could ask those two questions, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Murray. Sorry, Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'm able to answer those questions. First of all, thank you to Nuala as well. And as you say, that was a brilliant report, and it is her first time presenting to Scrutiny. And we've got a brilliant finance team now with Owen as our Section 151 as well, and also Michael, a new member of staff. So we've got a really impressive team. So that's something we really welcome. The question around homelessness is an important one, and it's going to be a significant pressure on the budget, and as you quite rightly say, we're going to have to look at other solutions. We're awaiting a paper from the housing team, which I believe is coming forward to a cabinet briefing in the coming weeks, and then we'll go through the proper process of scrutiny and then through more formally to cabinet. For some years we've been arguing that we need more temporary accommodation. It's something I was certainly pushing for when I was in the housing role. Obviously the challenge is finding the places to put that temporary accommodation. We're looking at different solutions. So some of the things that we've discussed, the pods that we had on Northfield Airfield, and looking at other locations to put those in, potentially looking at some of the sheltered accommodation which is underused, and also looking as well where we might be able to buy accommodation which can be used for temporary. But I haven't seen the full paper yet, but I'm aware that those are some of the solutions that we will look at. And as you quite rightly say, when we do that, when we use temporary accommodation within our own housing stock, the pressure goes onto the HRA fund rather than onto the general fund. And actually in recent years, despite seeing a rising trend in homelessness across the country, we're lucky in Epping Forest that we did manage to stem the tide. But unfortunately, we're now seeing the consequences of the economic situation that we're living through. So hopefully we can find a way of managing that. But obviously this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be at least a year project to get this in place. Hopefully we can do some of them quicker. But I hope that answers the question. So the answer is that you will see something soon. I haven't seen anything yet, but it is coming. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Murray, did you wish to come back at all?
No, I think that's explained the points I raised. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yep, so can I go to, is it Councillor Rackham? Have I given you a chance? Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Yep.
My question is about Qualis. I wondered how many staff members there are, and also how many actually earn over 75k a year. Thank you.
How many earn over 25k a year? Okay. Okay, who could, Councillor Whitbread? Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. This report deals with the Squad 1 and Quarter 2 for this council. Qualis is a separate set of accounts, and a separate set of books.
Yeah.
So that would need to be addressed separately, for a different report.
Yeah. Yeah, I do very much agree with Councillor Whitbread. That's probably outside the remit of this particular meeting, because Qualis is a separate company and we're dealing with the first quarter budget report. So I do think, yeah, but maybe you could save that question for a different meeting. Okay. So yeah. So thank you. So I've got a Councillor. Sorry, I've got a Councillor Barnard, please. No, you don't have a question. That's fine. Okay, can I go to Councillor Wiskin? Can I come to you, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I did have 3 other points. Again, I'll ask, do you wish me to take them one at a time or all in one?
What do you think? I think all in one, and then we'll make notes as we go along. Yeah.
Points made about ICT expenditure being significantly under budget. Is it not likely that we should be at a point we should be putting technology into tick over, given LGR is oncoming, and expect not to have to make significant investment in products and services which may be disbanded? That's my first point. Second point is on the planning overspend. I had a question about the Section 106 funds. Can we have some indication of how much is going in and how much is actually going out and being spent on the clean air zone avoidance scheme? And perhaps we can have an update on where we are on that. It's a regular old chestnut of mine. I'm asking it now. Asked several months ago. Councillor Bedford said the information is out there somewhere. Perhaps we could get some clarity on where somewhere is and where we are on that. My third point was about recyclables, disappointing to see that the costs have gone up. My question is, are we likely to see a significant mirroring of this with the green waste collection issue, and will that significantly put up the proposed or potential £60 per annum charge, and would it go significantly higher?
Councillor Williamson. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I'd take the planning one. Historically, planning never covers the cost of the service. It's one of those things. There are steps in place. This is a lot less than it has been previous years, but we're constantly looking at ways of reducing that overspend. Some of it is down to the costs that we incur when appeals are lost. On the section 106, I believe that has been reported that the monies certainly that have gone to the Corporation of London have been mentioned in this chamber. It's a separate issue, section 106. I'm sure the section 106 officer will give us a report if we ask for it. I'm sure we can get that information to you as to what money's come in, what money's gone out. I don't know whether that answers your question, but it was a pretty general question.
Thank you for that as well. I think there's two other elements to your question. I think the first part was the ICT was under budget and somehow in connection with LGR. Could you just repeat that, Councillor Wiskin, the first part?
Yes, my question is that potentially should you be putting IT into tick over, just retaining services as they are and only upgrading definite dependencies and rather investing in new projects, given that LGR is coming down the road and this body will disappear?
Yeah. Councillor Whitbread, let's come back on that.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and a good question from Councillor Wiskin.
Yeah.
IT has been underspent for a number of years now. It just seems to be the nature of the beast when you're dealing with technology. Should we be stopping doing anything? What we need to do is make sure that we're working closely with other councils and other potential partners in the future to make sure that we have the right technology for the future. And that won't be just done with us on our own, and there's a piece of work that will be ongoing, particularly around the implementation as we move further ahead with LGR. There are things that have to be done, and of course we've all heard about cyber security threats in recent times, so we have to keep our eye on the curve, because that's one of the big issues. If you look at what's happened to Jaguar Land Rover in recent days, what's happened in other major industries, what's happened to Hackney Council, airports, it can happen all over. So whilst you're right that obviously you don't want, you've got to plan carefully for the future to make sure you don't waste money on technology, there are parts of the technology sector where you will need to invest as we move ahead over the next couple of years. We're still 2 years away from the implementation of LGR, and we don't know how many unitaries there'll be yet. But once we know who our partners are, there's a big piece of work to be done, and technology is key to the future.
Yeah, thank you for that reply, Councillor Whitbread. And in the third part of your question,
It was regarding green waste and possible,
yes, indeed,
possible increase in costs of that.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I could come back on the green waste. Sorry, Councillor Balcom, thank you.
As you know, we haven't done any extra information on green waste at all at the moment. That will be coming forward shortly. And I will also say that recyclable, all waste basically, is an up and down in the market. So at different points it peaks and other points it's low. And at present recyclable waste is very low.
Yep, thank you for that. And, oh yes, okay. Do you have any declarations at all?
No, Mr Chairman, apologies for lateness.
Yeah, thank you, that's accepted, thank you. Right, can I go to Councillor Lyon? I think, did you have a question? You've been waiting a long time.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, looking at page 14, paragraph 2.7, relating to the ICT projects, there's two projects mentioned, Cirrus and Gamma. I don't know what they are. Be interested to know, and then I've got a supplementary to, if we can find out what they are.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have to come back in writing on that point, if that's okay, and unless Nuala has the answer, but I don't...
Thank you, okay.
So, supplementary was, I understand that the telephone system is going through upgrades and picking up what Councillor Whitbread said before about continuing to actually work with ICT projects. I understand there's a couple of upgrades on the ICT system, on the telephone system for customer service, and I think that just indicates how important it is to continue to keep the ICT projects up to date and to move forward. So I think there are discussions going on a regular basis with ICT and other councils. I know that from previous experience, and there's a regular dialogue. So I'm sure any ICT systems coming together will be dealt with at the appropriate time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lyon. I don't think we need to come back on that question. So I'll go over to Councillor Morgan. I think you've been waiting to ask.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Actually, my question has been already asked and answered, but I'd just like to say it's good to see that we have less costs coming through now on the planning than we have had in previous years. So that is a positive that we've got to look at. And the other question about the S106 and the plan costs have been asked, and we're going to get a report back, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you as well, yeah. Are there any other questions? Sorry, Councillor Murray online, my apologies, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I deliberately wanted to separate this comment away from my more substantive contribution earlier, and the Leader of Council did acknowledge it at Cabinet, but I think it's important that someone from ONS flagged it up. I think in terms of procedure, it would have been better if this had come to ONS before Cabinet. I feel less strongly because there's obviously no decisions involved, but I think the principle should really be an item to ONS first and then the item goes to Cabinet. But I understand the timetable doesn't always allow that, and as I say, as there's no active decisions involved for Cabinet on this, I'm not too upset, but I just wanted to establish the normal principle that we should really try and operate scrutiny first and then Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Yeah, that's noted, yeah, and that's a perfectly valid point. Yeah. So I don't know from the committee, any other questions about the budget? I did want to ask myself just about having to apply our revenue reserves just at the beginning of the report. I think it was on page 11, but that we might have to utilise. It says here, page 11, 1.7, to apply reserves to balance the budget. So, I mean, just could you say something about, I think normally we keep 4 million in reserve, is that right, on top of my head? Could you say something about the use of reserves and would we replenish them? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so as at the 31st of March 2025, we had a general contingency reserve of £4 million, which is kind of in line with council expectations. And we also had another 7 million of earmarked reserve, so reserves held for specific reasons. And within that, there was around 3.5 million for a transitional stroke LGR transformation reserve. Mm-hmm. So the use of reserves obviously is subject to Cabinet and Council approval. We are now on a 2-year, financial strategy to the end of kind of Epping Forest going towards unitary. So at this stage, we would need to be mindful of the reserve levels, but not necessarily replenish them to the full level. But as the forecast develops, that will be an option that we could balance the budget by the use of reserves, and there are reserves available.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay. So, are there any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Bassett.
Thank you. This one is not so much on this budget so much, but it's a case of do we have funds available for LGR? and what's going to happen with that. I know the government say, oh, don't worry about it, but I do know someone over here that's most probably going to end up paying for it.
Okay, yeah. Who would like to come back on that? Or, okay, yes, sorry. Yeah, Councillor Whitbread.
Yeah, obviously there will be financial implications for all councils, and indeed we did have some money set aside for transformation, but let's be honest, something of this scale is going to require more than the money that Epping Forest would have when you look at the cost of setting up the new unitaries. And of course that was one of the things that would have been so fragile if the government decided on a 5 option. That would be one of the most difficult parts of it, is the finances. So, you know, we're working with all our partners across the whole Essex system, the greater Essex system. But obviously we will be keeping a close eye, and there'll be further reports on LGR coming forward in the months ahead, but we won't be shouldering the whole thing.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Another small point on page 15. Can you just explain the relationship between the council tax sharing agreement and council tax pooling? They balance each other out absolutely perfectly. But it'll be interesting to actually understand their relationship.
Yep, thank you for that question. Can I go to... yep.
Excuse me, Chair. I might have to take that away and get an answer for you. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah. Spotted, thank you.
Okay, thank you as well. All good. And then can I go to Councillor Wiskin, please?
Thank you, Chairman. On page 12, I think our officer noted that the projected surplus was £500,000 this year, which would be good news. Perhaps the finance portfolio holder could tell us how that will fit in with the £3.5 million savings we're facing, being rumoured to face, to make in the next budget.
Yep, okay, thank you. Councillor Hollywood.
I'm going to have to apologise because I was very rudely reading an email. Do you mind repeating the first part of that question?
Yes, thank you. The, on page 12, there's a projected surplus of just over £500,000. The question is how's that going to go towards thinking about resolving the £3.5 million rumoured savings we're going to have to make in the next budget?
Yeah. Yeah,
obviously, that will be looked at as part of the next budget round, and we've got very soon, I think an email went out today inviting all members of Scrutiny to the next Cabinet meeting when we'll look at the kind of first stage of the budget process. So it would be one thing which can hopefully alleviate some of the pressures, but as you quite rightly say, we've got at least a £3.4 million gap to find. Obviously that's significant. There's some different things that we can look at there, and we'll present a suite of options. But obviously anything that can alleviate the pressure is welcome, including underspend from the previous year. But yeah, the challenge is ahead. And apologies again that I was reading an email.
Thank you for that, Councillor Whitbread. And Nuala, would you like to come back on that?
Can I just note that we're actually forecasting a 0.5 deficit for this year. It's not a surplus, it's a deficit. Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yep. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I myself also get confused sometimes with surpluses and deficits, so very easily done. And yeah, okay. Councillor George, did you want to come in?
Hi, good evening all. Just coming back to Nuala, what you said about the £3.5 million put aside for the LGR. Now, we're expecting the LGR to be happening in about 2 years ahead. So it hasn't, I don't really understand why there has to be £3.5 million put aside now in the reserve. Is it correct? Am I correct in £3.5 million? No. What have I misunderstood then?
We have...
Yes, please.
I'm just going to check that. We do have a reserve of a value of 3.5 million that could potentially meet costs of LGR, so it's not exclusively for the costs of LGR, so it's available. It was previously the transformation budget that's been kind of rebadged to meet any emerging cost pressures.
Thank you as well. Okay, so if there are members, any questions? Any further questions? Okay. So, yeah. So, can we agree to the recommendations and note the relevant financial positions? Agreed. Thank you. And now we move on to item 10, which is a report on the select committees, which are pages 67. Councillor Lucas has sent her apologies. I'm aware that there have been a number of policies as highlighted on the work programme, and the next meeting will be on the 7th of October. Okay. Councillor Parsons, I know there hasn't been a meeting of place, but is there anything that you would want to add?
Thanks, Chairman. Nothing at the moment. Just to know, our next meeting is in 2 weeks' time on the 14th. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Councillor Murray, did you have a question? Yeah.
Well, I don't have a question. I have not a report, because it's not my job to report. But I do think wider members of ONS need to know a little bit about what happened at the Communities Scrutiny Committee meeting on the 16th of September, because it was a very relatively long and important meeting. And as I mentioned, the Cabinet, it was really reminded me of the old Housing Select Committee, because nearly all the items we had were on housing, and as members can see on page 31 and 32, and I won't go through all the ones on the 16th, but there were a couple that I think are worth just flagging up a little bit. There was the annual housing performance report and tenant satisfaction, and the Scrutiny Committee really did interrogate that and ask a whole range of challenging questions. And I think the fairest way of putting it is that the new Chief Housing Officer, for want of a better word, I know that's not the precise title, isn't exactly happy where tenant satisfaction is at the moment and where our performance is in certain areas, and is looking to improve that. And then a really important policy for our tenants and leaseholders were the pets and other animals policy. And that could have been quite controversial from the outset, but a lot of consultation had been carried out with tenants and leaseholders, and we seem to have got a policy that's acceptable for all different opinions. So I did think it was worth flagging that up. And I have to just say, I wanted to flag up one other thing, which again I did do at Cabinet on the 22nd, but not all members of ONS tune into Cabinet. I thought the new housing portfolio holder did extremely well. In fact, she did so well, I queried the procedure, because she introduced all the items. And I actually asked Councillor Lucas, is that the way we do things? Because normally it's the officer that introduces items, and the portfolio holder will answer any subsequent questions from members of the Scrutiny Committee. But in fact, I was very nicely put in my place, because the new housing portfolio holder had said that she had read all her responsibilities, and one of her responsibilities was very clearly at the appropriate Scrutiny Committee to introduce items. So I just want to say very well done to the new housing portfolio holder, but that doesn't mean that we won't ask challenging and difficult questions in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Thank you for those comments and observations. So, do any further questions? Not. Okay, so then we go over to item 11, which is overview and scrutiny work programme, and that's pages 30 to 33. Or hold on, is it? Anyway, okay. So, are there any comments on the work programme at all? Any comments? Anything you'd like to say about the work programme? No? Okay, so can we note that? Thank you. And then we go to Cabinet Business, which is item 12, and that is page... Cabinet, item 12 is on page 37, I believe, yeah. Members and comments or queries on the Cabinet business or queries on the forward plan. I won't take this page by page, but you might want to pick out any individual items in the forward plan. I won't take a page first. Page 38. No? Okay. Okay, so then we can go to, hold on. Yep. So I think that's it, isn't it, really? So we go to item 13, which is, members, we have no items that require the public and press to be excluded from the meeting. So I'd like to thank the committee and all other members for their attendance at the meeting tonight, and I close the meeting at 19:41.